welcome everyone to another episode of Open Mic. I'm your host, Mike Carlson, and today have a super special guest, someone who's near and dear to my heart, my grandfather, Terry Carlson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey, love to see my grandson anytime I can.
Does this count as like a FaceTime? No, it doesn't.
It does not count as a call. No, I'm not sending you any money.
Hey, so you've been a club pro for your entire life. You've been in golf your entire life. I want to start from the beginning. So what was it like growing up? What kind of kid were you, and what led you into golf?
Well, I don't remember much about my early life. My mom said it was tough, but I was born in Elgin, Illinois, and probably in today's world, I would say my family was probably child abuse. They'd call that today, because my mother was Irish. She would not spare the yardstick, so she'd whack me and my brother on the butt and all that sort of thing. But it was fun. We had a great childhood, my brother and I and my sister. I had an older sister, which an older sister is probably the best advantage I had in life, because she taught me a very important thing when I was young, and she taught me how to dance. And if you want to meet girls, you got to dance. You somehow have to learn how to dance. So she taught me how to dance, and that led to girls, and that was my whole goal as a youngster, to have a girlfriend.
Nice. Well, it worked. You obviously you had a wife, and that allowed me to exist. So you're 100% there. So what led you to choose golf as your sport? Because I can imagine growing up, golf wasn't anywhere near where it was today, right?
Well, I played Little League and all that, but when I got to high school, and you had to play a sport, that was part of the deal, I think. And so, I went to the meetings for, like football, but they all had training rules. You young kids don't know what training rules are, but, back then, training rules, you had to, be in bed by midnight. You couldn't drink or smoke or, be fat. You had to do a lot of running and stuff. So I asked around about another sport, and they said, well, golf has no training rules. You can be fat, you can smoke, you can drink. It's just walking.
Yeah.
So that appealed to me, the no discipline part. And, you had to get a Letterman sweater. And so, I got one, and then the girls would go, what is that funny thing on the sweater? And I go, well, that's golf, So that's how I got started. I kind of chose the easiest path.
What was it like practicing it back then? Because it's come a long way. So what was golf looking like for you? I mean, was it?
High school golf. They don't do the training, the weightlifting. I mean, back in those days, if you had a set of clubs, you were on the team, and so we would travel to the other school, and we wouldn't hit any balls, no stuff like that. We'd just start out playing a match. And back in my early days, I actually, because it was a small school, we only had 45 guys in my class. I actually ran track. And so I would go to the track meet first, and run the 100-yard dash in about 10 minutes, and get beat. And then the assistant coach, track coach, would take me over to the golf course, because I played number one. I was good. So that's kind of where I started playing golf. Yeah. And then, of course, I was fortunate to get a golf scholarship to Murray State University, the Harvard of the South. And at that time, it was a powerhouse. And so I ended up playing college golf.
And you did it. That was a great little segue there. So what was it like? What was college golf like for you? I mean, what were some fun memories? Is there any, match or tournament you look back on that you really liked being a part of? Or, tell me about, playing Division I college golf, because it's a big deal today, and it was a huge deal back then.
Well, no, it wasn't a huge deal back then. Like I say, golf wasn't really as popular as other sports. But I remember my first tournament, we traveled to LSU down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And believe it or not, they had the Tiger caged right there on the driving range.
No way.
Yeah. But back then, they just kept the Tiger in a cage. I don't know what they do today. They probably have
I don't think it's in a cage anymore.
Oh, yeah. LSU's got a Tiger. So anyway, I just remember we hit balls and we played. And my buddy Ron Acree and I were in the hotel room that night, and he said, "Hey, I didn't see the tiger." And I said, "No, I didn't either. I saw his cage." So we went out there. We borrowed a flashlight from the front desk guy. I told him we lost something in the parking lot, and
Yeah.
went out there to look at the tiger cage. we flashed the flashlight in the tiger cage. Well, he saw the light and came right out at us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we quickly headed back to the hotel, and I guess that's probably not a great golf story, but that was my first golf meet. But yeah, we played golf. I mean, it was back then. You played probably 7-8 meets. That's about all you played, and we had no off-site training back in there. You could smoke, you could drink, you could do everything. Football players and stuff, they had rules.
They had rules. The golfers had no rules, though. It was
no rules.
Bar at the turn.
No rules for golf. You could just, as long as you could play, the coach didn't care what you did in the off season. He didn't care. But today, if you're on a golf team, they got weightlifting, and
Totally.
the game has changed. It's taken my gentlemanly sport into a athletic event now, which I would be no good at. But
how have you seen it change? You've been, witness to it. We're skipping around here, but you've been witness to, I don't even know how many decades of golf. What are some of the changes you've seen? What do you like? Tell me about that.
Oh my God. Well, back when I played, it was wood clubs. I'm ashamed to say I played college golf. It was wood clubs. But, that was the way the game was played. And, if you could hit the ball 250, with a wood club, you were awesome long. I never was awesome long, but, yeah, the game's changed tremendously. The ball, the conditioning of the athletes, the golf courses, speed swings today are, just huge. But, it's still the same game. You got to get the ball in the hole. I'm proud of golf because it's still the only major sport on TV that's played with no referees, no bad calls. People call rules on themselves. Over 90 acres of ground. When they get done, they sign the scorecard and say, "I did not move the ball. I didn't cheat." So I'm proud of our sport. It's a good sport, and taught me a lot growing up that you got to accept the consequences and move on, and don't polish the rearview mirror and keep moving forward.
You're playing just for the next shot. You got to flush it after that.
Well, you got to keep your mind on the present. You can't think. I made an 8 once in the Canadian Open, and it was hard to focus on the next hole, but I was able to kind of move on, and I think that's the way you got to do it in life. You got to move on.
Nice.
I've moved on that you're not going to be in the NBA, and I was kind of hoping I'd have an NBA player in the family, but
well, hey, we're Carlsons though. We're all point guards. That's the thing.
Good dribblers.
Good dribblers, good ball handlers, good passers, not really much else.
Let's not go too far. Just dribble.
So you wrap up at Murray, and then what led you into golf now as a career? Tell me about that.
Well, actually, when I graduated from the Harvard of the South, Murray State, which was pretty difficult. We had some very tough classes down there. Bait casting and things like that were tough. But when I graduated, I actually wasn't going to be a golf pro. I wasn't even thinking about being a golf pro. And but there was a tournament down in Paris, Tennessee, which was just across the line from where Murray was in Kentucky, and had a thing called the Catfish Open, and had some money up for first prize. And so some of my buddies who were seniors and had finished their eligibility were going to play. So I went and played in that, and I ended up winning that. I beat Cue Ball Pryor in a playoff there and got myself a Dr. Pepper cooler and $100, and I was on my way. It's on my way. Cue Ball has never forgotten that loss. But
oh my God! So that was what you win that, and you're like, I think I can do this as a career.
This is easy. No, actually, I won that tournament, which is true. But then I went back to Elgin, my hometown, and I wanted to kind of teach college. I kind of looked up to college professors, and I saw them in their sport coats. And, I said, hey, this could be a good deal. So I thought, well, I'll just teach. So I got a job at a junior high school. And, I got tired of yelling, shut up and sit down and that stuff. So I said, well, maybe this teaching's not for me. So then I got a job out at the country club.
Yeah.
As an assistant pro,
Mhm.
and that started my career. I thought, well, this isn't bad, you know.
Yeah. Well, you've been in a pro, and three incredible levels. I mean, you like you said, you started off, at Elgin, and then you moved to Glen Oak, and then eventually to Estancia. What were some things that you kind of learned or found along the way? Because you're looking at three clubs over the course of your whole career, which is it's unprecedented. I mean, it really is, and it's a testament to your ability. But what was that like moving from each different club? What did you learn? What was it like? Tell me some of that.
Yeah, my mom was impressed that I didn't get fired. She was always, don't get fired. It's like when I went to school, my mom was, just get C's. C's
Yeah.
get the degree.
Yeah.
You don't have to extend yourself. Just get through it.
Yeah.
So the thing about the three clubs is truly they're all the same. I had the same characters at Elgin Country Club, a blue collar club like I had at Estancia, which people had more private jets than most clubs. So, but people are people. They're nice people, and jerks are jerks, and there's always 5% in every club and every walk of life, and so you just kind of ignore those people. But truthfully, all three clubs were great to me, great to my family. They always took your dad in and let him play golf there, and that. Of course, he never worked there, but he just hit balls and was a member. So
Yeah.
it was good for him. But I said to him one night, "Why don't you pick the range up, help the guys?" I'm tired, Dad.
I'm good. Yeah.
I'm good. So he's spoiled, but that's all right.
And I talked about it when I had Dad as a guest. We talked about, you are, in our family, I tell everyone, golf is the family business. It's what we've done. It started with you, and it's just kind of moved along down.
Yeah, you guys have finally started playing golf, which I'm excited about.
I know we have Andrew. Andrew has probably going to hit the range, in all honesty, after this interview. So going to get some swings in there.
Yeah, it'll be a lifetime of heartaches now, the rest of your life. That's what golf is. Think about it. Nicklaus won, 6% of the tournaments he entered? He was the greatest. Or Tiger won 8% of the tournaments. So, you're a failure 92% of the time. Which fits in with my Catholic religion, so that's kind of where I'm at,
I love it. So what was it like teaching Dad, though? Teaching him golf, because I got his perspective on it, but now I want to hear your take, because you're ground zero for golf in the family.
Teaching your dad was really not teaching. It was a debate. I would tell him to do this, and he'd say, "Yeah, but I can do it this way."
Yeah.
So, he was hard-headed. But, the thing I always believed in was that kids are good imitators. Mm-hmm. So he saw my swing a lot. And I think just by watching it, he kind of copied my swing. And so, he's got a very good golf swing. Chris, just decided that, golf wasn't for him. He saw what being a club pro was like, working every Saturday and Sunday and not having a lot of family time. And so he made a choice to, sell hats. So, so hat salesman.
Hat salesman. But I think it's funny that you talked about observing, because that's something that, as I'm learning golf now, that I found is, like, my dad would look at my backswing and then say, "That looks a lot like my backswing. Like, what are you doing there?" And it is literally just from watching him as a caddy, backswing all the time. Now the kind of the forward swing, whatever, the downswing, not great, because I got a great view of the backswing because I was behind him with the clubs, but never the forward swing. But it's a long roundabout way of saying that you're spot on. By just observing, you can kind of learn a lot through osmosis and through imitation.
Yeah, I think teaching is how do I want to say this? Teaching is I don't want to say it's overrated, but I think you can learn a lot by just observing and watching. And kids are good imitators. And I, of course, considered myself the greatest teacher in the world, because I'd give somebody a lesson and they'd never come back. So right away, I knew I must have been the best teacher in the world, because they didn't need to come back.
Yeah.
So no, but your dad's got a good golf swing. I take credit for a little bit of it, but he's done a lot of hard work. The thing about golf is, it's a tough mistress. You gotta stay with it. It's not a game you can pick up on one Saturday and then play the next Saturday.
No, exactly. You got to stay on it.
Yeah.
So talk to me about, you said, being a club pro, it didn't really differ between clubs, which I think is really interesting. What was it like for you in your role there? I mean, you're obviously, you're balancing a lot of different things, whether it's members, at Estancia, members who, like you said, have more private jets, or, people who, when you were at Elgin, are coming from a regular job and working there. What is the day-to-day, what was that like being a club pro and really running the show at, three incredibly, different levels as far as, caliber?
Well, I think, you have to realize that these people are leaving work. They're coming to the club. They want to leave all their troubles at work, or if they have troubles at home, they want to come to the club and have a good time. So my goal was always to make sure that while they were at the club, they had the best time that they could possibly have. And in order to do that, you have to greet them, you have to meet them, you have to use their names. You try to make their day, as special, as you can for them. And part of the way of doing that is showing, attention to them and making sure that when they leave there, they think you knocked yourself out for them, and try to make their day the best. So it doesn't matter whether they're extremely wealthy or extremely poor. You just try to be liked and make sure you show them that you care about them. So, and obviously you can do that better if you come from a position of being able to play the game.
Yeah.
So they respect you. So I always felt it was important that I could beat every member. If I could beat every member,
yeah,
then they would show me respect. But if I was a chop and half the membership could beat me, that wasn't where I wanted to be. So I focused a lot on my own game, focused a lot on making sure that they understood that I knew the game, I knew the rules, I knew how to teach, and that sort of thing. So, I did a pretty good job of fooling them for 40 years. So I got away with it.
Wait, you're being, you're being too humble there. You had an incredible run. So, I mean,
well, I just recently passed up $1 million in entry fees. So I've entered $1 million worth of tournaments, and my career earnings wouldn't buy dinner for 4 at a fancy restaurant. But
hey, I was waiting for that one. I was waiting for that one to come out. It took you, I think, we're 20 minutes in, and it took you that long to get to that part of it. But
well, I like to talk about my career earnings whenever chance I get.
So, as a club pro, you wear a ton of different hats. Like you said, you're either playing, and showing that you understand golf. You're sometimes teaching. You're sometimes, talking to members and doing more customer service type stuff. Was there any role that you felt as a club pro that you really enjoyed doing?
Well, I enjoyed, I told you, and I've told your dad the same thing. If you find a job you love to do, it's really not a job.
Yeah.
So I can tell you honestly, every day I pulled into a country club at 7 in the morning or whatever time it was, I was thankful. I wasn't driving the concrete highway into Chicago every day selling crap to strangers.
Yeah.
So, it was fun to be a club pro, and I enjoyed it. And it was, I think that showed. So that's kind of my thinking on that. Is that too serious or what?
Well, no, that's a good one. I was more asking, like, did you like being a teacher? Was there a moment, did you like being a teacher more than you like some of the other stuff? Or was it all of it? You're like, you know what? I'm pulling up to a country club today. No matter what happens, life is good.
I like lunch. You could, the club pro, I could order whatever I wanted. So, if I wanted a steak sandwich, I could have one,
Yeah, that ain't bad. That's not bad at all.
Yeah. So for me, it was all the perks, So I traded my life for cheap green fees, so that was it.
Hey, I think that's a great line. We're going to have to definitely clip that one on social media and throw that one out there. So you were a club pro, and then while you were doing that, you also played on the tour, correct?
Yeah. When I turned 50, your dad said to me, he said, I think you could play on that senior tour.
Yeah.
And, that was nice to hear that your dad had that much confidence in me. And so truthfully, we lived across the street. We were in Wheaton at the time, and we lived across the street from a gym. And so we both joined the gym and we went over there and we worked out and I got stronger and I hit the ball a little farther and
Yeah.
all that. And so then I went to tour school and I qualified for
Mhm.
the senior tour. There were 16 spots available back in those days.
Yeah.
And so in 1996, I was exempt on the senior tour, and my club, thankfully, was nice enough to give me a year off. And so I went out and played on the senior tour for a year, and they quickly sent me back to being a club pro, and that's kind of what happened there.
But you had a lot of, I mean, incredible moments, right? Because you played in the British senior at St. Andrews. Am I making that up or am I right on that one? I remember
No, I played in the British senior, but it was at Royal County Down.
Royal County. Yeah. Yeah.
Up in County Down.
Yeah. So what is, as you're playing in these different events for a full year, I mean, what's that? Tell me about. I mean, what's that experience like? Obviously, it's very different from club pro life. I mean, at that point, golf, in a very almost serious way is your job.
Well, I played. I guess the thing I would say is that I was playing on the senior tour, but I had the backup. I had a job.
Yeah.
So some guys are going out there and they don't have backup. That's a tough deal. So, I played in 2 U.S. Senior Opens, and that was fun. And I generally spent a lot of time by the good players and tried to learn what I could from them. And then I hung around the ropes and tried to sign autographs. I'd even ask kids, "Hey, can I sign that for you?" Signing autographs was about as much fun as I had out there.
Hey, that's a lot of fun though that you can have. You're out. I remember seeing the photos. You're out there just signing gloves, signing balls, signing whatever.
I don't see many on eBay though. I don't see kids selling them. I can show you. There's a little signature mark I make under my name that's an authentic.
Yeah, to authenticate it.
Yeah.
But there's not.
So if you see a fake one, let me know, will you?
There's no counterfeit ones out there either.
Well, I think there could be. I just don't check eBay every day, but I doubt it. Yeah.
So what were some things you learned playing on the senior tour, playing professionally? Are there any you've already had like a lot of life lessons with golf and sports. Was there any particular takeaways you had or things you look back on?
Well, those guys are really good. And I don't think people realize how hard they work. I mean, I think they watch ESPN on Sunday afternoon. They see the final group and they think, wow, that's great. But they don't realize, I can remember getting up in New York at 5:30 in the morning and I had a 7:40 tee time. And, I got to the golf course. There's nobody there. And dark on the driving range and I'm hitting balls. And, I see guys like Trevino arrive and, they work out in the gym and then they come and they hit balls. I mean, it's a lot of hard work. And I think a lot of times people just see, the glory part of it, but those guys work hard and, they earn everything they get. They deserve it. So I saw a lot of hard work, but they're great putters, all of them. And I think if I would have had to redo my career, I'd worked a lot harder on putting.
Is that what you say is the big separator? It's, it's putting?
No doubt. I averaged 32 putts, and 32 putts would be 4 one-putts in 18 holes. And those guys are averaging 27. So, that's 9 one-putts. So that's pretty good, 9 one-putts in 18 holes. So they're good.
Yeah. So come back off the tour, and then at some point you get, hired at Estancia. Was there anything, going through your mind on that first day there because I think at that point it was a pretty new club too, right?
Yeah, it was actually the Millennium started 2000. Isn't that what they call it? The Millennium?
Millennium, yeah.
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 So yeah, I pulled into Phoenix on December 31st, 1999, and had dinner at Handlebar Jay's. I remember that. And I went up to the club the first day, January 1st, and positioned myself on the first tee.
Yeah.
And I just shook hands with the members. And I realized it was going to be a great job. And Nancy and I had moved to Scottsdale, so we spent our whole life in that Elgin area. So for us, it was a big change. We liked living in Scottsdale, and it was a great club, and they treated me royally, and it was a great opportunity, and we had a lot of fun there. That's for sure.
Yeah, and it's a great track too out there, and definitely one that, I mean, it attracts a lot of different people. I know Bubba Watson was a member there. You know, Pat Perez. I mean, you're having a lot of guys who are professional athletes in golf, but then baseball as well. So it's a pretty, I mean, cool clientele you get to hang out with every day.
Yeah, I mean, there were some big names there, you know, Pat and Bubba, Keith Kachuk from hockey, and Pat Burrell from baseball, Evan Longoria from baseball, Eric Hinsky. We had a whole bunch of athletes, you know, and the fun thing is that, you know, they're just regular guys. I mean, they're not, they don't ask for anything special. And we had Peter Lynch there from Fidelity Magellan. And
Mhm.
so we had a lot of high people, but I was fortunate when I was a very young pro. I got to teach out in Palm Springs, California. And I was teaching out there. And since I was the new teacher at the club, you know, you kind of get the people that nobody else wanted to teach. And so I ended up teaching this old guy. You know, he couldn't hit the ball hardly at all. He just like put it out there 100 yards. And so, but he was a great guy, but he was a lonely guy. And so, you know, he'd be my only lesson, and then he'd want to go play 5 or 6 holes. And, you know, he could barely, I mean, he was a good guy, just wasn't a golfer. And so my dad called me, and he said, "How you doing on teaching?" And I said, "Well, I got this one guy who's kind of keeping me with some money in my pockets." And he said, "Well, what's his name?" And I said, "Well, his name's Frank Capra." Well, I didn't know who Frank Capra was, you know, but turned out to be a movie producer. I think he did It's a Wonderful Life or something like that. Guy's an Oscar winner, whatever. So anyway, as it turns out, that's the time Jimmy Carter beat Gerald Ford for the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And so Ford moves out to Palm Springs in January after the election. His best buddy is Frank Capra. So pretty soon, Frank and Jerry Ford and myself are on the driving range, and Jerry's asking me questions, and I'm thinking, here I am, a 26-year-old guy from Elgin, Illinois, and I'm talking to the President of the United States, you know.
Yeah.
All he wants to talk about is some cheerleader back in Grand Rapids that he dated, you know. So I realized that, you know, even though he was president, had his hand on the nuclear button, it was still about old girlfriends in high school. So they're just regular Joes. And so we had a good time, and told my dad I was teaching Jerry Ford, and my dad said, "Ah, damn, he's a Republican." You know, my dad was a big Democrat, so he didn't care for Jerry Ford too much.
That's an incredible story. That's so cool. So that's something that you kind of, as you move to Estancia, you kind of thought about, and you're like, these guys just want to be treated like regular dudes. They just want to go there, you know, hit some balls on the range, go play, and just be treated like normal guys.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I guess I learned that I wasn't in awe. You know, they're just regular guys. And when Jerry Ford was talking about some high school cheerleader in Grand Rapids, you know, I don't know that I thought about it at the time, but then I thought, you know, he's no different than me. So
Totally.
you know, we had Jack Lemmon there. Jack Lemmon was great.
Yeah.
He told me to come out to the trunk of his car one time, and it's after Christmas, and opens the trunk, and he shows me this golf bag. It's got all hair on it and everything. He says, "Look at this. My wife bought me a mink golf bag." He said, "She only shops on Rodeo Drive." He says, "She knows nothing about golf." So he said, I can't carry this mink golf bag in the club." He said, guys will rip me. So he said, "Put that in the bag room and don't ever bring it out." So, you know, I mean, Jack Lemmon was a great guy, and I'm not dropping names. I'm just saying I was very fortunate in life to be around those guys. And
you've got a bunch of great stories with a bunch of great guys. And I got to talk about the tweet you had at the Last Dance. We're going to get to your Twitter here soon, because that's a whole other
Twitter career.
Your Twitter career is, you're the Twitter king, I think. I think as far as people, even in your age group, you're like the top gun of Twitter.
Well, I have 200 followers, and it's taken me 20 years to get that. So, you know, that's 10 a year. I'm building.
You're building.
Mike, I could be 220 by the end of this interview right here. I could be
good. It could be big. We'll make sure to tag you. But the tweet you had right before the Last Dance, it was a photo of you and Michael Jordan next to it, and just the caption was, "Yeah, we were buds." I mean, you had Jordan out at Glen Oak a couple of times, right?
Yeah, Michael, when he first came to Chicago, you know, he wasn't the big hero that he is today.
Yeah.
And so back in the day, he loved to play golf. And so and he loved to play with golf pros, club pros and fun. And so, Michael joined us on Mondays because us club pros would meet on Monday and have a game among ourselves. And so we got to play. I was never really close friends with him by any means. But he knew who I was and that sort of thing. He wouldn't know today, but yeah, Michael, loved to play golf. He was a good guy. He was a decent guy. I enjoyed watching that series on him.
And a good golfer too, right?
He wasn't too good. He wasn't too good. He loved to bet. And of course, once you bet, I choke like a dog and, he'd take my money. And I'd say, what are you doing taking my money? You make millions, And I took my $20. So I learned a lesson,
Learned a lesson, yeah. That's so funny. So we got to talk about it. Your Twitter account, it's incredible. I'm not going to lie. Like, it's some of the funniest tweets I've ever seen in my life. What inspires someone to get a Twitter account? You're incredible at using it, by the way, for any Twitter user in any age group. So what inspires you to get a Twitter account? And then what place do your tweets come from?
You're forgetting, I don't have 2 million followers. I have 200.
But I would say you have some pretty quality ones in there in that 200.
Yeah, I don't know why I'm not being discovered more. I just don't understand it. The truth is that I found out about Twitter and I thought, hey, this is cool, So I got on Twitter and, so I just, my mind works kind of funny. I see stuff and I see the funny side of stuff.
Yeah.
So then I, a random thought, I put it down and I send it out into the public and that's what I do. But I don't know, I'm interested in a lot of things and I just read funny things into it, like, Meghan and Prince Harry, they got problems. Really? They got problems? I mean, come on. I mean, they want problems.
Yeah.
Come to my neighborhood, come to the east side of town.
Yeah.
We got problems, Meghan and Markle. I can't get too carried away, And then I see a Volvo commercial and I go, what?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like 4 professors going to a wedding in Iceland and I'm somehow supposed to buy a Volvo. I don't get it. So I see the funny sides of these things and I tweet them out and then generally Carrie well, not Chris too much, but Carrie will call me and say, Dad, don't tweet that. But I usually tweet inappropriate stuff.
The one that was, I think, my favorite recently is your take on Batman movies. We need to make less Batman movies. I think that's an all-time one for sure.
I was on Netflix and I was looking for a movie, it was 8:00 and then, Jesus, how many Batman movies do we need? I mean, I've known more about Batman than, so yeah, we don't need any more Batman movies. And that's kind of what I felt.
Hey, well, it's an incredible Twitter account. And I recommend everyone go follow it. All of the listeners.
One of my favorite ones is I was in the shower. I was in the shower one day.
Yeah.
But whenever I get in the shower, I just feel like the serial killer is going to break in.
Yeah.
I think it comes from that Hitchcock movie.
Yeah.
So, when I get in the shower, so I thought, well, I'll tweet that.
Yeah.
So that was my first success. I got about 100 likes on that. Spurred me on. The shower one. So that's it.
I love the one about how long when you're at a person's house do you need to be to ask for the Wi-Fi password. I think that's up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I might have copied that from somebody. I don't know that I was that good, but but yeah, I mean, I think the kids come over here and they, what's your Wi-Fi password right away? Like, not hi Gramps, how you doing? So, give me the Wi-Fi password. And that's the way kids are nowadays.
Hey, it is. So I'll own up to that.
Yeah.
It's so we're covering a whole lot here.
Yes.
This is why it's called open mic, because we cover a lot. What is as you look back,
how are you doing on the marriage front?
Are you turning the interview on me now?
Am I going to see grandchildren anytime soon, or
Well, that's a very interesting question to ask on a podcast. So I'm going to just go ahead and say the marriage thing is way far off right now. But that's I don't know. I don't know what other kind of response to give you other than the honest answer.
Well, you need to get out to the Cracker Barrel, start looking around for women. You know, there's a lot of women at the Cracker Barrel nowadays.
I don't know if I don't know if the Cracker Barrel. I don't even know if we have one at the house.
That's my crowd. The Cracker
That's your crowd. Yeah, that's your.
But you know, today kids don't go to the bars like we did. You know, I think it's all these dating sites and stuff now. You know, they got. I mean, I found out the other day there's a prison web dating site. I mean, who's dating prisoners? I mean, come on.
There's clearly enough people for it to be a website.
Yeah, she's attractive. I think I'll marry her. She's not getting out for 40 years. But I mean, come on. It's nuts, isn't it? It's like that farmers thing.
Farmers only.
Farmers only. I mean, you know, you could lie on that thing because
you could lie about being a farmer. It'd probably be tough though, because as soon as you go on that first date, the moment you pull up and don't look like a farmer, they're going to be like, I don't know if you should have been on that site.
You pull up in that Chevy Camaro 2-seater, you know. Where's the truck, bud?
I'm like, yeah, I love it. This is vintage TC right here.
My mom and dad met at the watch factory. You know,
actually?
Elgin, Illinois made watches. And so the watch factory, they both worked there. Mom came not from Ireland, but her parents came from Ireland.
Yeah.
And so she got a job at the watch factory. And my great story about my mom and dad that I love to tell is this one, is that, you know, I was probably 8 or 10 years old. I don't know.
Yeah.
We were very Catholic, you know. We had church on Sunday. Mom would take us to confessions on Friday. And, you know, if I went in the confessional and came out real quick, she'd like, you know, you didn't tell them everything.
Send you right back in.
Yeah, she'd like send me right back in. See, so one day, you know, I opened the door to go in their bedroom, which I did frequently, you know. And here my mom was, you know, putting on her underwear. You know? And so she said, you know, you're going right to hell and get out of here. So I went to see my dad. Yeah. And I said, Dad, I said, Mom says I'm going to hell. I saw her in her underwear. He says to me, you saw her in the light? See, I think they both dressed in the dark. I think, you know, it was the Catholic thing, you know. They both didn't see each other fully. It was back when the repressed eras.
Oh my gosh.
That's probably, we cut that from the podcast.
Hey, no, we'll keep it. It's a good story. It's
not good. Thank God my mom and dad are both dead, so they don't know the answer.
So they're not going to listen to the pod.
I don't think my dad ever saw her naked in the light. I don't think he ever did. I think it was part of the thing.
But they actually did meet in the watch factory?
Yeah, they met in the watch factory. Mom got a job there, and my dad had a job. And so they got married, and then my dad became a beer salesman. And so he sold Schlitz and Miller Lite and beers. And so he would wake me up in the morning, and then he would drop me off at a golf course in his territory. Mm-hmm. And then I would play golf in the morning, and he would go call on the taverns, the orders, and then he'd meet me at noon, and then him and I would go play 18 in the afternoon. Yeah. And then we'd come back home. And that was our deal.
Wow. Was he good?
Yeah, my dad was a good player, good player.
Yeah.
Wasn't a pro, but he was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good. He was he loved golf. So that was kind of how, you know, I took it up and we had a good time.
That's really cool. So we're covering a lot here, which is just incredible and a ton of fun. But as you kind of look back on your career as a club pro, what great stories, what fond memories do you have? I'm interested to hear that, because you had it, like I said, an incredible career, you know, 3 clubs, you know, over spanning several decades, you know, everyone loved you wherever you went. I mean, I want to know more about that.
Well, you know, I read something on a serious note, very serious note. I read something, I think Johnny Wooden said it, and maybe I don't have it 100% right, but it really impressed me and it stayed with me my whole life. And that is, first of all, you have to dream the dream. Yeah. So let's just take, for instance, the NBA. Say I was a good basketball player. So I dreamt I want to be in the NBA. Okay, that's the first step. You have to dream what you want to be. If you want to be successful, you have to have that dream. It doesn't have to be real specific, but let's say it is. Then the second thing is you have to believe it. Okay. So when I dreamed, hey, I'm going to play in the NBA, I had to look at the size of my hands, and I'm 5'7", and I said, come on, can you really believe you're going to play in the NBA?
Yeah.
No. So, my dream would stop there. But talking about golf, I dreamed, hey, I'd like to play professional golf. I believed I could because Ben Hogan was my size, and I could do that.
Yeah.
And so, after you believe it, then you have to do the hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And so the hard work is what stops a lot of people. They think they did hard work. I got a lot of dads that think their kids are going to be Tiger Woods. They think their kid's working hard, but he's not. So you got to do the hard work. That's the third step.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fourth step is that you got to have the opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't care how good you are. If you don't get the opportunity, then you can't succeed. And then the fourth thing, the final thing you have to do is the Nike slogan, you got to do it.
Yeah.
So in the case of golf, I believed I could be a club pro or a touring pro. I dreamed it. I believed it. I did the hard work. I hit a lot of balls and did that. Then I had to get the opportunity, and I got the opportunity on the senior tour.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to do it. And that's where I failed. I didn't get it done there. But that's with anything in life. You got to kind of go through those steps. You got to believe it. You got to dream it. You got to do the hard work and get the opportunity. And a lot of kids don't get the opportunity. And then when you do get the opportunity, you got to perform.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I view things in life.
Wow.
That too lengthy?
No, that was great. That was some great, sagely wisdom right there. Wow.
Yeah, it was all copied. It was Johnny Wooden. I think it was Johnny Wooden said that. I think if you look it up, it's all Johnny Wooden. But it's true. Those are the 5 steps for anything in life. Your dad, he didn't grow up, wanting to be a hat salesman. Mm-hmm. But your dad knew that he wanted to be independent.
Yeah.
Knew he wanted to be in sales.
Yep.
Because his income wouldn't be stationary. It can go up and down depending on his hard work, and he's a hard worker. And so, he's gotten the opportunity with Champion and Under Armour and these companies, and he's proved himself. Yeah. So, that's kind of the way it is in life. You got to go through those steps. And, my dad was late in his life. He was a cardboard box salesman, but he loved to be a commission salesman. So that's what he did.
That's real cool. I think that's, it's great advice. And I think it's an incredible thought. And it's so true. You have to do all of those things, and each one builds on the next. And I think the most important one you said is it's not only doing the work, but it's getting the opportunity to do it. And you kind of get into a philosophical discussion of, what is luck? It's when hard work, meets opportunity, meets preparation, however you want to say it. So I think it's a great thought.
Yeah, I didn't really have a plan in life. I mean, I'm not saying that I, thought all this out. My whole life's just all about take care of today, see what I can do today to not be a jerk to somebody, and don't burn any bridges, and, just kind of go through life treating people the way I want to be treated. And that's kind of life. I don't know too many people that just plan things out.
Hey, one day at a time.
I don't even know what I'm going to have for dinner. I don't even know. I didn't plan it.
So with that, I think it's a great way. We'll move into, I think we call this final 5 questions. It's just kind of
rapid fire. I'm good at rapid fire.
Yeah, it's rapid fire. So that's what we'll call it. Rapid fire, final 5. People are like, well, it's not really fast, so you can't call it rapid fire.
Okay.
We'll end with that. So I've asked this to every person who's a golfer who's been on the show. It's you, and you can choose 3 other people to be in your group. Who are you choosing? It can be a celebrity, politician, historical figure. Who are you choosing? And then where are you guys going to play?
Well, the old Jack Nicklaus statement, if I had one last round to play, it would be at Pebble and all that. I don't think of golf that way. It's not about the golf course, but I would love to play. If I had my choice, I would love to play with my dad one more time.
Yeah.
I love to play with your dad.
Yep.
Golf's really about, not the birdies and the pars and all that stuff. It's about who you play with and the fun. Mm-hmm. I have fun playing with Andrew when he's not mad. But when Andrew's mad, it's not fun. But Andrew, he's my grandson. And I'm going to play with you when you can learn to break 100, and then but until then, no. But
Until then, Andrew's the last guy in on that one.
Andrew, now I love to play with my dad. I really can't. I'm not that philosophical to think that I like to play around with Teddy Roosevelt or John Kennedy. That's way too deep for me. I'm more just like I like to play with family.
So we're gonna go Pebble, and then with just 4 generations of Carlsons.
Not Pebble. If I had one more round to play on a golf course, I would love to play Royal County Down over in Ireland. I love that.
I like that.
Yeah, but I like to play with your dad and my dad. That'd be a great generational thing.
Nice.
No Andrew. We'll cut Andrew out.
We'll cut in. We'll go with just a threesome here for this group.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great one. So that's an awesome answer. I love that. You're the first person to get that creative with it. Next rapid fire question. I got to actually check my list of rapid fire questions that I had in here somewhere. I don't have them.
Long life. How to live a long life.
How to live.
Radishes. You got to eat radishes.
Radishes?
Radishes are good for you.
Okay.
I don't know that. It's a forgotten fruit. I like it. Oh, yeah, radishes. You never had a radish?
I've never had a radish.
See? Probably only live another year. But radishes are the answer to long life. So,
okay. So
the kind of stuff that comes in my mind, and I tweet it.
I'm waiting. I'm going to wait for that to be a tweet a little bit later, and I'll make sure.
I gotta work on it. The radish.
Gotta workshop it.
But yeah, well, the radish is good though. Ask your mom about radishes; they're good.
I will. So next one, what is you've been a teacher for the average golfer? What's your number one swing tip?
Well, you don't start out in life, running the 100-yard dash, or a mile.
Yeah.
Let go of dad's arms. You take a couple of steps and you fall into mom's arms.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how you learn. And so the same thing is true in golf. I try to get people to just hit the ball straight for 10 yards.
Yeah.
They don't have to make a full swing. Just take the club back and hit the ball straight as you can for 10 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can do that, then I advance them to hitting the ball 20 yards straight.
Yeah.
And then 30 yards straight.
Yeah.
So they learn blade control.
Yep.
Because if you don't control the blade of the club, the ball's going to go left or right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really that's how I teach golf. Is I teach it from the fact is like a child learning to walk. Hit it 10 yards straight and then hit it 20 yards straight.
Yeah, and just go from there and work your way up.
Go from there. But, most people, they just want to go right to the driver. They just
can't do it.
Yeah, they're idiots. That's why they pay me money for a lesson because, they're idiots.
So for the next question, you're on fire so far on these first two. What is the single best golf shot you've hit in your life? Is there one that you look back on, you're like, that was the best shot?
Well, I don't know. I never thought of that. I guess tour school.
Yeah.
Which I was choking like a dog, and I was trying to get it in to get it, and I came to the final hole,
mm-hmm.
and it wasn't a hard shot, but it was one with water in front of the green and that sort of thing, and I don't know, somehow I calmed myself down and hit a nice shot in there and made the putt. So, if I look back, that was a great shot. I mean, I won the Illinois Senior Open a couple of years and hit some great shots there. But mostly my life's been a series of chokes and loses. So
don't say that. Don't say that. No, you've had an incredible career.
That's true. Yeah.
So this next one, what's the favorite out of all the courses you've played? What's your favorite track that you've played? It can be either professionally, growing up, in college. What's the number one? Well,
my number one golf course, I've mentioned it a number of times, Royal County Down over in Ireland. It's kind of funny. I went over there as a club pro, and I'd always saw it was in the top 5 in the world, and I wanted to play it. So I went over there and played it. And there was something about being in County Down in that town, and I just felt at peace, and I loved the golf course. It was fantastic. I saw why I was in the top 5. And then it's funny because I asked my mom one time, I said, where were we from in Ireland?
Mm-hmm.
She said, County Down.
Wow.
So, yeah. So her mother and father came from County Down, the same place. So I don't know. There was just something about it. It's squeaky. You know, it was freaky. I just felt at home there, and it was great. I loved the place. I played with Tom Watson there, and that was a special occasion. So it was fun.
So last question. What was your favorite grouping you played in on the tour? Was there any couple of guys who you'd see them in your grouping, you're like, okay, this is going to be a good group, or any guys you looked forward to playing? Who were those guys? What was that favorite grouping?
Well, I played with Trevino. I was like getting paired with Trevino. He was fun. He was a fun guy. I played with Gene Littler. Gene Littler was one of my heroes, Gene the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate enough when I was on the senior tour that I got paired, because the first day you get paired as a rookie, so you're playing with other chops, like yourself. But then after your first round score, you get paired by score. So, you kind of leave the chops and you kind of move up. And so I ended up getting paired with, Gary Player. I played with, never played with Arnie. I didn't play with Jack. Played with Trevino, played with Gary Player, George Archer, Miller Barber. So I enjoyed all those guys. I mean, they were all great guys. So, but I enjoyed playing with your dad, and much as I enjoyed playing with them, really.
Right.
That's the truth.
We appreciate that. You
although he's a whiner, it's a bad shot. He whines. You can't forget. So it should have been good.
It's what you say. You never stop parenting. So when all three generations are on the course, it's a lot of fun, but there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah, Andrew got mad. I didn't give him a putt. It was like 4 inches away, and he missed it. And then he wouldn't speak to Grandpa for 2 holes. I said, "Hey, you missed it. Tough love."
Hey, no gimmies.
That's what my mom was tough love. She'd take that ruler to you and whack you. So you learn to be tough.
You do. And this is just, by the way, we'll end with that. This has been just an incredibly fun interview.
Yeah. How many followers you got? About 6, 7? What are you up to?
I think we're at like 7-ish viewers.
7 followers?
50
well,
total.
I hope they spread the word, the 7 followers.
Well, I need you to spread the word. You've got the high-profile Twitter follows.
This will go into the dustbin of history and be forever forgotten, but it's always fun to talk to you, though.
It is. This has been just it's been a blast.
Okay. Work on that grandchildren child for me. I need some children. So
you know what? I will get right on it as soon as the podcast blows up. So well,
you have to go out of the house once in a while, because they don't come knocking on the door, You have to dream it first, then you have to believe it, and then you have to have the opportunity. You got to do the hard work. You got to buy them flowers. You got to compliment them. Oh, your hair looks nice. You got to do all those things.
You have to. So I think that's a great way that we've come full circle on this interview. This has been a ton of fun. We'll definitely have you on as a guest. Again, at some point, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Maybe we'll talk, do some U.S. Open, some Masters type stuff. I have no idea. That's why it's called Open Mic. But I can't thank you enough for coming on, and this was a blast.